ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Incredible Journeys, Discovery, Adventure, Danger, and Endurance. We are now on Amelia Earhart, but please can I remind you that if you want to read back or look back at any of these activities, but also story chapters, all you need to do is click on the links here and they will take you directly to the YouTube channel. We hope that you're enjoying this fabulous book by Leveson Wood. And today we are looking at the wonderful woman that is Amelia Earhart, a woman definitely without limits. Whenever I think of someone pushing boundaries and challenging conventions, I think of Amelia Earhart. Her epic journeys made her out as one of the most daring people who ever lived. Earhart was born in Kansas in 1897 and loved playing outside and climbing trees. She once even built a roller coaster in her back garden, but it was a day out of a stunt flying exhibition almost a decade later that sealed her destiny. A pilot in a plane spotted Earhart and her friend watching and decided to give them a scare, driving straight at them, but gutsy Earhart refused to budge. I believe that little red airplane said something to me as it swished by. She later reflected. In 1920, she finally sat as a passenger in a plane. By the time I had got 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew I had to fly, she later said. She was so determined to learn that she tracked down one of the best aviators of the day, Netta Snook, and begged her for lessons. The airfield was a long way from home and she had to take a long bus to the final stop and then walk over 6 kilometres. But Earhart wouldn't let a little thing like that stop her. And sure enough, after just a couple of years, she owned a plane and had her pilot's license. She was only the 16th woman in the USA to be issued with a license. She nicknamed the first plane, a bright yellow biplane, the Canary, and immediately got to work setting records, becoming the first woman to rise to an altitude of 1,400 feet. That's 4,267 meters. It wasn't long before she became a celebrity, earning the moniker of Queen of the Air. In 1932, she embarked on her longest journey yet, flying solo across the Atlantic. Many people had tried and died in the attempt, and only one other person, Charles Lindbergh, had achieved it before. She took off from Newfoundland on the east coast of Canada alone in a tiny single-engine wooden plane she called her Little Red Bus. When I was in the British Army, I was a parachute regiment, the airborne specialist, and I spent a lot of time in planes in dangerous conditions, but I always had my team of fellow soldiers alongside me. I can't imagine how hard it must have been to do it alone. Earhart suffered from icy conditions, heavy winds, and technical problems with the plane and was forced to land in Northern Ireland instead of France, as she'd been planning, much to the surprise of some local farmers who weren't expecting her. She crossed the Atlantic successfully in under just 15 hours, becoming the first woman and second person ever to do it. But Earhart wasn't content with that. She had an even bigger journey in mind. But before we move on to the next page, you can see it says here, by the time I got 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew I had to fly. And this is our illustration of Amelia Earhart here. So let's go to our next page, all about the continued story of Amelia Earhart. So as you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, it takes us through her epic journey. So many explorers feel the urge to put their name into history books, and Amelia Earhart was no different. When she turned 40, she set her mind on a final goal, to become the first woman to circumnavigate the globe by aircraft. She made her first attempt in March 1937, aiming to circle the world by going west, but her plane crashed on takeoff in Hawaii and had to be sent back for repairs. Finally, in June, she was ready to fly again, aiming to fly 47,000 kilometers along the equator. She had a navigator, Fred Noonan, with her, and some of the most sophisticated navigation equipment ever invented at the time. The whole world waited with bated breath. Would the Queen of the Air succeed once more? Let's follow that journey now. So here we start in Miami, in Puerto Rico. So on the 1st of June 1937, Earhart and Noonan departed from Miami. You can see them there. Her plane was a Lockheed Electra 10E, modified to include extra fuel and tanks and additional navigation equipment. Lots of stops were required to refuel the plane in Fortaleza, Brazil. Earhart took an extended breath so her aircraft could be checked. Earhart then reached Senegal on the 8th of June, settling a record for the fastest ever crossing of the South Atlantic, 13 hours and 22 minutes. Taking off from Sitwe, Manama, On the 18th of June, Earhart was soon forced to turn back because of bad weather. When it improved, she took flight for Thailand. Then finally travelling down through Thailand, she ended in Indonesia. Earhart decided to take a 3-day rest. She and Nuna needed it, and so did the plane. The whole aircraft got a major overhaul before she took off for Australia. And then finally, number 7. On July 2nd, Earhart and Noonan took off from Lae, a town in Papua New Guinea in the Pacific Ocean. They were aiming for Howland Island, a small split of land over 4,000 kilometres away. But however, how does it end? An unsolved mystery. But Earhart never reached Howland Island. Apart from a few distress signals, the plane was never heard from or seen again. But Earhart was one of the most famous women in the world, and the US President Franklin D. Roosevelt wasn't going to let her vanish. He spent $4 million sending out a search party to find her, but it was a huge area of ocean to cover. After 2 years of hunting, the search team gave up and Amelia Earhart was announced lost at sea. To this day, no one knows what happened to her, but her legacy as a fearless and intrepid pilot and pioneer of women aviation lives on. Oh, I've got goosebumps. I wonder, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think happened to Amelia Earhart? So our next chapter, ladies and gentlemen, is Mount Everest, the ultimate peak. If you'd like to, please remember that you can always come back to these videos just by clicking on the links. We hope that you're enjoying the story so far, and please remember that if you ever need help, do not hesitate to get in contact. Have a wonderful day and speak to you soon. Bye.